ones for it, not necessarily worth it. So the Annie was fished for, the Annie was denied, and we're going with Sejuani first pick.
Going with Sejuani for Spica. He is no stranger to it. Gnar, obviously one of those most popular champions for Summit, who back when he was on his MVP performances, it was Gnar, it was Jace, it was these champions he could play aggro, be the top lane Chad, carry the game from those. So FlyQuest banning that out. What's going to be the response here from Team Liquid? Most of the time these days, we're seeing supports, we're seeing marksmen, we're seeing junglers in the first half of the draft, and the jungle will be a Lee Sin for Pyosik.
And you can immediately see what Team Liquid is going for, because they've removed Annie, who is one of the best, if not the best, mid lane 2v2 champion, and they've taken the best 2v2 mid lane jungler in Lee Sin. So potentially showing some cards early here from Team Liquid.
Yeah, I actually wondered if Pyosik would go back to an old favorite. I believe first round we did ban Kindred against TL. Obviously, Song, our head coach, knows plenty about Pyosik's Kindred, given he was the head coach at DRX last year. So I was interested to see. I think the theory there is usually Lee Sin is paired with a Syndra or a kill 2v2 mid laner, and Vicla has been falling down in the laning phase, been targeted in the last couple of games, as Talia game most recently out. So I guess I'm not surprised by it. And the Aphelios takeaway, you would think, from Prince, who's been defaulting to that recently.
Yeah, that was my immediate thought. Keep Prince off of this hyper carry. That's one of those things that will always be an X factor. But Prince here, this is something that has fallen out of popularity recently after being picked all the time versus Zeri and Lulu. But it's Lucian Nami for Prince and Eyla.
Yeah, and this is kind of strange because whilst I agree Prince is a very good Aphelios, it's also Yeon's most played champion, I think, ever. And he loves the champion. And he originally started playing it because it beat Lucian Nami. So if you take Lulu here, then the Aphelios Lulu matchup should be quite favored throughout most stages of the game until the one item spikes come through.
Yeah, the should part is interesting. I think the Thresh is trending more in the meta recently, so not too surprised to see that pick up. But the should does also take in player experience, and Prince and Eyla, will they be able to play together in the 2v2 is the bigger question there. I think Yeon and CoreJJ have been good. I just think Prince is a monster.
Prince's first Lucian game this split, I believe it was, where he ended up with 17 kills or something.
Was it game one or game two? It was week one.
Yeah, it was week one, and it was just this monster performance, like constant, like, or wait, maybe the 17 kills was later on. I think this first one might have been a lower kill game, but either way, the performance that he had, the way that he was able to create space, use his callings and everything, very impressive.
I really like this on the screen because Haeri is also a big table tennis fan. So maybe there needs to be, you know, the on the Rift battle.
We had a tournament actually earlier this week. We should have invited Haeri.
Oh,
Absolutely.
there you go.
All right.
All right, well, now we know what to do in off time next time. But right now, let's go ahead and see how the second half of the draft is going to look. It is mirrored picks for both sides with bottom laners and junglers locked in. Not a whole lot of flex potential here, so we're expecting to see only solo lane bans in second half. We got Renekton banned out by TL, Akali banned out by FlyQuest.
Interesting to see the Lee Sin, though, because Lee Sin is technically still a flex pick. I believe Licorice played it on stage. I don't know if everyone was a huge fan of it. I knew you were going to have a backhanded compliment there. So small chance we'll see a flex there. Just interested to see what the fourth pick is on red side here, is banning some melee champions to synergize with the Sejuani. Pretty big respect to just ban out the Yone in the second round.
Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised this
Maybe Azir?
Maybe at a Team Liquid going to be taking Harry's champion on 4 would be the most logical thing. Or maybe giving some respect, and though I don't know if he's ever played it in his life, to Impact on maybe being able to take it into the top side.
I mean, he's been working on the carries, but Yone, especially blind, would be a pretty big takeaway there. It does open up Azir. Obviously, we do expect something like Yone into an Azir. So how TL process this information with some suspicious bans on both sides, hovering some Impact favorites here.
Yeah.
Don't think we're seeing a Malphite just yet, but I'm curious to see what is locked in.
I actually think that's an homage to me, because my team in Challenger has been playing a lot of Malphite at the moment. But Haeri getting Ahri is quite surprising, especially with something like a Yone ban, because I don't think you would be particularly worried about the 1v1 matchup, although Vicla is very good at melee champions himself. And this is a pick that Haeri played to great success throughout the whole of last year.
I think, honestly, a lot of the Haeri bucks when it came to promoting him to LCS were how good on Ahri he was in Proving Grounds last year. This guy was monstering multiple games, and a lot of people evaluated him because of that champion over a pick like Azir that he was struggling on earlier. Loving some of the fan signs here. Prince was actually putting the feelers out there, so the Marry Me Prince might have some legs. Here we go. Sylas would be always a favorite of Vicla, and also a sort of pick to get yourself back into confidence.
Yeah, and I think that it is good into the Ahri matchup, but when I look across the board, I'm not seeing all that many useful ultimates to use.
Yep.
However, in that 2v2 skirmish, it's when you see Lucian, when you see Ahri, you assume that the mid lane will be a focus early, especially if you have a roaming support like Thresh. So being able to take something to block that effectively, I think is very critical, and a great pick by this FlyQuest squad.
And melee synergy with Sejuani is always appreciated. Waiting for the last pick here, we've seen multiple different things. Garen most recently into the Ksante last time out.
Yeah, Garen was the hard counter choice of as soon as he goes all out, you go all in with your Demacian Justice, instantly executed.
You drop yourself to half health, that's not going to be ideal.
Yeah, it's a bad time against the Garen. Gwen has been the more traditional counter pick against it, but we are going to see that Cho'Gath. Remember, he did receive buffs recently. A lot of people are liking him a lot more than they usually do, and that's going to be Summit's 1v1 against Impact's Ksante.
And it's similar theory to the Garen, right? You drop yourself to low health, he does true damage, all of a sudden you might find yourself in a sticky situation. Also quite good into these melees because silence is something that we're probably a little bit more familiar with.
That's
like an old
boomer
school.
tech,
Yeah.
boomer tech for sure.
Old school mechanic in League of Legends, which is quite overpowered, so taking the Cho'Gath into this melee comp could be effective.
And honestly, Cho'Gath everywhere has kind of been the world meta. I'm not leaking scrims or anything, but you look over Gumayushi, a lot of AD carries are playing the Cho'Gath. And you might think, oh, there was Senna Cho before. There's Cho'Gath Nautilus now. There's Cho'Gath everything now. Cho'Gath is just kind of the vogue champion right now that we have tripped up on the last couple of times.
All right, it's time to rock and roll. Game 1 of Week 7 here in Spring Split 2023 for the LCS. FlyQuest 11-2 sitting at the top of the table.
But Fire Cannon is quite a long-range marksman. Can, in mid-game teamfights, have to put itself in a little bit of danger to get effective DPS off.
Not too much danger, though. Please don't die.
All right. Well, obviously you guys both have very different hopes for Prince's performance here this game. I'm going to point out real quick, summoner spell difference in bottom lane. Prince with the cleanse, making sure he's able to get away from these charms of Haeri later on in the game, from the death sentences of CoreJJ all game long. The heal being given over to Eyla instead, while Yeon has the heal for his side, opting into not taking the cleanse, and it's CoreJJ's Ignite that might give them a little bit of extra oomph in the bottom lane trade.
Yeah, the heal will definitely help for the 2v2 laning phase, but at some point you need a cleanse, whether it's a Mikhail's or the summoner spell cleanse against Sejuani. So given that, he's going to have to really rely on his tanks to stand in front. Otherwise, the early skirmishes could be potentially rough.
Yeah, and let's be realistic. Mikhail's is in the very distant future for a Nami because you are never skipping mandate on this champion, so it does make a lot of sense in this situation.
Alrighty, my friends, we've got junglers starting up on the top. You guys probably didn't experience. Pastry Time likes his headset nice and loud.
Got it.
And mine generally stays a little quieter, so I had to always be careful. Had to make sure it was the attention test after Pastry. But hey, we're back into the game here today. Congratulations to Pastry, who recently got married, by the way. Saw that on social media yesterday.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to Pastry Time. Hell yeah, buddy. Congratulations. Many, many happy years ahead. And hey, look at that. We already got praise for you guys. Papasmithy and Spawn on LCS. Hell yeah. Bottom lane 2v2 is already getting a little dirty as Prince and Eyla are trying to shove Yeon and CoreJJ back.
Good to be back. It's a very volatile lane in the bot with Thresh buff. Haven't seen the matchup too many times post buff. I think Pyosik spotted out here. No Kindred today, so that part I'm happy about. I was worried about sneaky flex and having to deal with the famous Pyosik Kindred.
Spica looking for maybe a nice early gank up here with the top side. Summit only level 2. Still has the flash. W2 is going to be flashed away from, but the flash. Arctic Assault to follow. It's first blood over to Impact.
That's a nice little pickup there. Spica trying to play around with time. It's very early gank, 220-ish in the top side. You pick the melee champions with Sejuani for a reason, and Summit on this Cho'Gath's kind of like Rumble. If you don't overextend, it's very hard to have any lane presence at all.
And that's what I was going to say. This is something that should be telegraphed because, you know, you take Sejuani, you would expect it to either go towards mid or go towards top. Haeri does get his ward out nice and early. Great jungle tracking from FlyQuest. I actually knew exactly where Pyosik was. And until next patch, it is going to be ineffective to counter jungle at this stage of the game. We take another look at this. This just looks like it's a very telegraphed, maybe set play from FlyQuest.
Honestly, Summit probably knows he's dead here. It's just, do you try to play flash chicken? Do you flash early? Do you flash late? There's never really a good time. The moment the stacks start adding up, we see a TSM, little hover there. And picking out first blood feels good because that's the sort of thing to get one monkey off your back and get some confidence coming into a game after a loss for FlyQuest.
And it's one of those things that we've seen so many teams do ever since Summit's debut in the LCS a couple of years back when he was just dominating lanes, ruling 1v1s. People picked up on the fact that if there was ever a choice, hey, you might be able to play this one back or play it more aggressively, he will always pick aggressive. In a game of rock, paper, scissors, the man always picks rock.
Yeah, we definitely had some interesting nicknames for him on 100 Thieves. Obviously, us kind of taking him down in that first round of the playoffs led to his eventual leaving the region after an MVP regular season. 7 camp clear, I believe, is something that was posited there. You clear 6 camps and then kill top.
Oh, man.
He struggled at times, but he's a good player.
Interesting little thing on the map here is that you would expect Lee Sin to go top Scuttle Crab because he got pushed off bottom. However, is bot, and there is going to be a 3v3.
All right, 3v3 starts with Prince eating a lot of aggro. He's already popped the cleanse, but it won't matter. It's Pyosik taking the crown from Prince, and Team Liquid answers back.
And once again, these junglers just very smart pathing. Spica did the right thing. He pushed him off the bottom crab. You would expect Pyosik to go back to top side, but Pyosik loops around, guarantees he's off vision. FlyQuest, it's natural to fight over that crash. You do not want to give the free reset to Team Liquid's bottom lane, but they do get punished for it.
Yeah, very heavy cost too. 3 summoners invested, both of Princes. Notice the Core and Yeon both have their flashes up. You'd be looking for Team Liquid to try to return to that lane and double down on the punishment.
And I love to see the coordination there from TL. It's the comms that set plays like that up. It's the comms that I've criticized on this team later on in the game throughout many of the earlier matchups that they've had this split. And I love seeing them kind of make those things come together like we were talking about back way before the game started. But once again, Impact versus Summit. It's Impact just sort of bullying him around a little bit here in these trades. The Cho'Gath struggling early on, but Pyosik's coming in for the gank. Summit's just got to stay alive enough to be able to help out with this. Impact's now finding himself in a 1v2. Gonna get silenced, gonna be taken low, and Pyosik gets his second of the game.
And I think this is what NA fans were excited about when they heard another world champion was coming to America. Are we going to get that Pyosik that can run over an early game?
Yeah.
So far, looking very good on this Lee Sin.
Yeah, I imagine Impact thought he couldn't be top because he hadn't cleared any camps. He would have to have gone straight top in order to be there to effect a kill there. Thought he was free overextending. He wasn't. Team Liquid, their early game is one to be feared, and they already have this slight lead, and Impact will lose a lot of minions in top as well.
Yeah, and you can see that Spica is going to try and last hit because Spica wants to be as strong as possible, so you would never ignore the free minions. However, does want Impact to also be ready for this Herald fight, because you feel like if you give the Herald over to what is already winning bottom lane, plus they have a fed Lee Sin, this is going to be a game that could get out of control pretty quickly.
And let's see what Pyosik can keep doing as we move forward in this early game. The Lee Sin being 2-0 up already. You guys already talked a little bit about how fearsome this champion is in mid-jungle 2v2s. We know that those mid-jungle 2v2s can determine so much about the pacing of the game moving forward. And CoreJJ just threads the needle onto Prince there with a death sentence. Yeon making sure not to step into the Nami bubble. Prince already died in the previous 3v3 here bottom, and now he's down to 200 HP underneath his own turret. Eyla will heal him back up. Spica is waiting in case a dive is about to come in. And with Pyosik coming down, Yeon and CoreJJ may get some reinforcements here. Pyosik's coming in, wards that brush, does not see Spica. However, he is also on top of a ward himself. Spica knows to come back. Now the Team Liquid ward is going to see the Sejuani. Everybody walks away, or do they? Pyosik still waiting, still seeing, threads it onto Prince, but now he's stuck underneath the turret. Got a little bit too aggressive there, but gets away.
Yeah, a lot of acting being done there. The only unknown variable was Pyosik not knowing he was spotted. Everybody else kind of had information on each other, so Pyosik ends up going half health. He's sticking around though, Pyosik, not a big farmer today.
And this is the thing about current League of Legends. Hook does go wide this time around. Bubble also misses. Is that a lot of it is just eye contacting bottom lanes. The marksman.
I can tell. They're literally not moving.
Yeah, correct. It's so important to be able to get them ahead. Level 16 for both junglers.
Both of them are level 6. Spica comes in over the wall. Prince is going to be killed first, and Pyosik does not die. They aren't able to get the last 100 HP. FlyQuest get outplayed 3v3 for the second time.
It's right on the edge there. You can see by the health bars, but they favor Team Liquid after it. We saw nobody moving. Amazing how literally experience was literally minion for minion.
And this is a masterclass, like how to play around bottom lane, how to play on nice edge, and I think both teams are doing their job. You're an extra 50 damage either way, means Triumph procs, things are coming through, and that could be a completely different skirmish, but credit to Team Liquid, they know what the game plan is. You have to get Prince behind, and they've been able to execute on that.
I'm loving what we're seeing in the early game here from Team Liquid and Pyosik. So let's see. Watch. Junglers hit 6. Everybody goes in.
Exactly at the same moment a minion dies and 6 is hit. No summoners up for Lucian here. He has his flash and cleanse in live. Another turret shot, another auto would have changed things, but Spica even has to defensively flash because of the consistent damage from a full health Yeon.
And you talk about the little things in League of Legends.
Yeah.
Core getting out all of his spells and then stepping towards the Sejuani, towards the CC, to be able to body block that so Pyosik can put out maximum DPS. It's the minute details in League of Legends that means either a double kill for FlyQuest there or a successful gank for Team Liquid.
I think it's one of the things that makes the game so fun to watch, because there's always something you can take away from everything. There's always some sort of maximization that you can find, and Pyosik is now going for the first neutral objective of the game. It is that Rift Herald, no super early Drake this time around, despite the fact that we've seen both junglers bottom lane a couple of times.
And honestly, this is a little bit of a nightmare for FlyQuest from my perspective if I was their coach, because you've drafted quite strong level 6 champions to be able to contest this Herald. You can't bring your Nami up because otherwise you leave red-white Aphelios on your bottom lane turret. But you know that now that this Herald has been picked up, one more bad gank, and this is a 2,000, 3,000 gold lead for Team Liquid instantly.
Yeah, you saw actually FlyQuest were hovering mid lane. Prince and Eyla roamed up just to see what was happening. Herald was probably the objective they expected with how the 2v2 started bot side, but they haven't started Drake. Drake's going to be a very late stack compared to the meta recently, as Spica's going to be spotted.
And hold the phone a little bit. I've only just checked in, but somehow Haeri's got himself a 23 CS lead in mid lane in what I would consider a fairly neutral matchup for the Sylas.
Yeah, honestly, we weren't tracking mid lane, so don't really have the read on that, but the CS doesn't lie. Pyosik back bottom again here, but Spica's also lurking.
Pyosik wants the angle, has his flash ready. Vicla versus Haeri back in mid. Vicla going in to follow him here with the Ahri ults. Lands the Q1. Haeri has the dash away to get out of the range of Q2, so Vicla's not going to get himself a summoner spell in terms of the flash on that one, but once again, it's jungler and jungler back here in bottom lane.
And glad I still got it. I was afraid for a moment I wasn't a caster, but then I get on the cast, I compliment one player, instantly goes rogue, so I'm glad I still got the curse.
Yeah, the curse is still real. Can't
The
take
magic
the caster
never
away from
leaves.
us. No, the magic never leaves. I wish Pyosik would leave bot lane. That's my request.
Well, unfortunately for you, it seems like Team Liquid has settled on this being the strategy for success, and Yeon already hitting that Bloodthirster. We're seeing this come out as a very, very popular first item on Aphelios these days. The power of that shield combined with the overheal makes a champion that does not have any inbuilt escape mechanisms feel much safer with the incredible amount of extra durability at all.
I'm a fan of it if you actually play to your limits with it. If you go Bloodthirster and then don't take any damage in a team fight, it doesn't seem great, but if you flash in aggressively and play make with it, it can be a big boon. Herald earlier for TL, but unfortunately with all the struggles in early game here from a FlyQuest POV, TL will get the first Drake as well.
However, it is pretty late, you know, so an 11-minute dragon, this is not going to be the 24 to 26 minute soul, so at the end of the day, this will be a scaling game. You would view from FlyQuest, they need to stop the bleeding, sure, but coming into a game versus Team Liquid, you know that they're up about 2,000 gold at 15 minutes on average, but you still know that they lose a lot of those games. So this is not unfamiliar water if you're looking at how Team Liquid season has gone so far.
So what I'm hearing from this is we need to see Team Liquid maintain what they've done so far now that we're into the last couple of minutes of turret plates being around, the last couple of minutes of what's considered the laning phase. Whereas for FlyQuest, this has been a squad that's worked together really well so far throughout the split. So we need to see if they can start dismantling what Team Liquid has built. You could see the attempt from Spica and Vicla there in mid lane, just pressuring the ulti off of Haeri, but they aren't fully committing anything there with their own ultis, not going to use any sorts of flashes. It is Rift Herald summoned up in mid lane. Team Liquid committing this means that if they just let this charge in and then get the second Herald, they might just be able to knock down the tier 1, but it's going to be a 2v2 instead. They focus Spica's ulti down into Haeri. Remember, he already used his own ult earlier, but he still does not have the ability to get away without spending summoners. It's Pyosik and Haeri both having to flash out. Traded away for Impact's Ghost, and that's about it. Meanwhile, bottom, 2v2 breaking out. Yeon and CoreJJ want some of Prince and Eyla, but it's Yeon with the lower health at the end of it.
But this time, Fly does actually trade up in terms of summoners. Core looking for an angle that was not far away on picking things up. Speaking of angles, it felt like Spica saw something that Vicla didn't in mid. Obviously something that's evolving with two players who don't speak the same language, but the synergy there, both didn't see a kill angle when the all-in happened with the Sylas and the Sejuani.
And just looking at the little things, this is why people love to play with Impact. He's willing to get off his lane top, go down to mid, help contest that Herald. He loses 2 plates for it himself, but he knows that this game is not going to be Ksante versus Cho'Gath. This is going to be a battle of how the carries perform in mid-game fights. You cannot allow Vicla to fall any further behind.
Pyosik waiting bottom, does not have flash, does not have kick.
Here we
Vicla
go.
going in mid lane yet again, but Haeri with a nice charm as he lands the E2. Oh, it's time to go all out. All right, let's see what they can get done here. It's Impact and Spica looking to take down Summit. The Rupture buys a moment longer, but they can't get him in range for a feast. It was on cooldown anyway. They're going to get a kill onto Ksante.
FlyQuest have to continue to trade. They have to continue to fight. It doesn't get better trying to go into Team Liquid's team comp 2-3 dragons down, forced to fight. So the playmaking continues, but Prince is the one who loses out in this trade.
And this is going to be White Gun Aphelios now assaulting your bottom lane turret.
Yep.
The more gold you can get into this champion, the better his late game will become. Obviously not going to be the same level of burst. Prince steps up.
Prince just dashed in. I don't know what in the hell the boy was thinking, but he's not thinking anything more for the next 23 seconds. He's dead in the dirt. FlyQuest coming in, seeing if they might be able to get something back off of this. Yeon and CoreJJ with full HP can safely escort Pyosik out, and Team Liquid are 3,500 gold ahead. Bottom lane tier 1 turret destroyed 14 minutes and 45 seconds into the game.
Yeah, we'll see the replay afterwards. This is what we missed on screen, which was the trade kill. We were focused in top side when the ult was able to take down Cho'Gath. Here is the replay.
Yeah, really nicely done there. You know, you think the pressure is going to be on Prince because you want to get either a summoner spell or the fact that he had used the Gale Force earlier, able to pick up that kill. And this time around, this is just Summon giveth, Summon taketh away. He knows his jungler is bottom side, and he gives Impact a very nice angle.
Yeah, would love to see the secondary play that led to Prince dashing in. I think it was at 14 minutes when teleports were unleashed and they saw an angle as the turret was being killed. Could have been a greedy take there if Lucian wasn't still in position. Ended up just being an int, unfortunately, and the gold lead here is pretty sizable for Team Liquid.
And I love the fact that they've got CoreJJ on a playmaker. I know that the meta has been Lulu's with Zeris and Nami's with Lucians, but CoreJJ, to me, has always stood out the most as a man who can recognize opportunities, even the smallest ones, and jump in and make them happen. He's been doing it on Thresh so far this game. And now FlyQuest is challenging Team Liquid to answer them here with the second Rift Herald of the game. A TP will be committed from Haeri, so you know Team Liquid is ready to answer for it. Let's see what this fight does. Vicla's back in mid lane. The Sylas is not here. Team Liquid are forcing FlyQuest away, and with the secure on the Herald, they're going to take the objective, but FlyQuest isn't done. They want to chase after the Team Liquid players. Spica leading the charge. Nami wave coming in. Vicla fighting Pyosik here off to the side, not able to lock him down long enough before he can get out of the river. CoreJJ is going to be your next target, but Vicla's here in the front. He's taking too much damage. Summit's in the middle of everybody, and he takes a big old bite out of Vicla. Now they're going to get a side of Sejuani, and Spica drops next. Team Liquid washes over him, and Pyosik's gonna pick up another. A double kill back over to Haeri. Impact just got impacted, and Eyla is the only one left swimming away.
And what a team fight from Team Liquid, able to swoop in. They had teleport advantage off bottom lane. I don't think FlyQuest had any business contesting that Herald, and now this game is a 6,000 gold lead.
Seems like the play call was you have to fight now, it's not going to get better later. Well, now did not suit FlyQuest. The push continues in mid. Look, we've said this before, Team Liquid have lost from advantageous positions, but you can't get a much bigger lead as this Drake is about to come down.
I'm loving what I'm seeing from Team Liquid. The early game, Spawn, you even pointed out, when you play against this team, you expect to probably be down in the early game. Their stats even tell you the story, but it's the mid game where things can get rocky. But they knew what they were doing here in this fight. They fell back beautifully.
And just watch the mobility in Team Liquid's comp. It looks like Yeon is in no man's land. Flash and then Lantern out. Pyosik now caught. Actually, back over the wall. Now you're funneling into a choke point versus all of this CC. And Summit is just unkillable in this backline. You cannot do enough damage. Yeah. And this is why teams stopped giving Haeri Ahri. And if they didn't, they lost the split because this guy is just a wizard in finding these angles.
Yep. Clearly, you could see FlyQuest felt forced to make things happen, but if you overpurchase on an Ahri, who, yes, no flash, but has ult up, the Thresh in position to disconnect the team fight. Looking at the gold done, and Ahri
boy. Nearly 4,000 damage in that team fight on the Ahri for Haeri in the mid lane. Now back up in top, dealing with Vicla in the 1v1 still that plus 30 CS that we were talking about from the laning phase that largely got overshadowed because of the attention to the side lanes. Back here in bottom lane, Impact eventually might be able to wear Summit down, but this is the classic wet noodle fight between tanks.
Jungler is coming.
Does a good job, however, of buffering through the rupture, and he's got more boys coming more quickly. CoreJJ tries to throw in a lantern, but the light is snuffed out, and Impact gets his 4th kill, the only player on FlyQuest to have any kills this game.
Trying to disrupt the momentum that TL is the driver of here. You still will lose objectives. Haeri and Pyosik will be taking topside camps and the top lane turret, but any gold infusions are welcome for FlyQuest. Looking for some mistakes from the TL side.
And there was always 2 trains of thoughts in League of Legends. There was the Korean, slow, get your wards out, make sure that you're safe on your current play. And then there was the LPL, which is, well, there's only one jungler, and he can only gank one of us. And Summit seems to be very much playing there is only one jungler, and I will die to him a couple of times in the side lane.
Well, both junglers have found their way topside this time. It's Vicla just being erased. Now we're going to reinforce both sides with the top laners joining with the Unleashed teleports, but FlyQuest is there only in time to retreat. It's another kill going the way of Team Liquid as FlyQuest mounts a counterattack targeting the Cho'Gath. He is very, very tanky, even on the front line. They're not going to do anything to him. Team Liquid arrives with some backup, and Yeon got the green gun to go in from a long way away. Spica gets dropped by the Sonic Wave, and Pyosik picks up another kill on this world champion performance we're seeing out of his Lee Sin here. Goes in, almost gets something, but hey, the kick already got used before. Goes right back out. TL, keep it going.
And I'm actually quite surprised that Team Liquid did not go towards the Baron, because that is jungler dead for 20 seconds. Maybe wanting to continue the momentum with just small victories and not good enough Aphelios guns. But right now, CoreJJ just cannot miss.
The Sejuani model, nice and generous to hit there, but it continued to play. It got the jungler down. Like you say, with it just spawning, they thought, is it greedy? Is it too much? And the answer maybe is that it was too much this time. We're seeing the play in the replay here, and at the end of the day, when Ahri is there to help, when the teleport comes in first from TL, the gold lead is always going to ring true.
And I was quite surprised as this play continued, because this doesn't look like any progress is going to be made on the tier 2 turret in top lane. However, FlyQuest perhaps seeing Yeon on mid lane, want to continue this fight, not enough damage, and now Team Liquid is going to hit the Baron dry.
Team Liquid ready to start this Baron up. Their jungler is 6-0-5, 100% kill participation, has 2 full completed items and a stopwatch ready to use to back it up. Pyosik is the man to watch for the playmaking. CoreJJ right next to him all game long. Pyosik goes godlike and then goes golden to drop the aggro. Team Liquid pick up the kill on Eyla, so the enemy support's dead for 25 seconds. Impact's gonna lead the charge as FlyQuest looks for any potential of a follow-up, but Team Liquid doesn't want to give it to him. Vicla's alone here in mid lane as Team Liquid shoves out the wave and walks back up towards the Baron now, with Summit once again being the space creator.
And that one seemed a little bit personal. Poor Eyla just trying to get a little bit of vision. Haeri not liking that from his ex-teammate, swoops in, another charm, another kill.
The mentor was too strong for the student there. Obviously, the Core and Eyla story is an interesting one in and of itself. TPs were used. They have a lot of Baron secure through TL, but it's not going down that fast.
FlyQuest go over the Hex Gate to find themselves on the other side of the pit, but now they've traded sides of the rift. It's a 4v5, and FlyQuest are a man down, 7,000 gold behind. They go in looking for the kill.
Okay.
They find it on the Ahri. Haeri's been shut out of this fight now, and Team Liquid wants to see if they can get any sort of vengeance for it. They're going to lock down Summit to stop some of the chase, but Pyosik's still ready to go. Prince puts a couple bullets in him and stops the chase there. FlyQuest 4v5, kill the Fed mid laner and stop the bear.
Really good passage of play for FlyQuest, first since very early in the game. Remember, they got a match TP out of Haeri and a kill and stopped the Baron from going down at 22 minutes. Doesn't necessarily mean the scaling is in our favor, but it does give FlyQuest a chance to breathe.
And more importantly, Team Liquid wanted to threaten Baron to then get set up over the Dragon.
Yep.
FlyQuest catch them before that setup is achieved. This is always when a team is the most weak. Transitioning across maybe a little bit lazy there from Team Liquid, but a great capitalization and punishment now potentially means that they're going to have tempo on the map and priority over this Baron area.
I mean, those are going to be the review moments. Was it too little to not go for Baron at 20 minutes? Was it too much to try to force Baron here, even with Smite and Cho'Gath ultimate available? The truth is, though, that they still are at Soul Point.
Yes,
FlyQuest
sir.
comp still has to find ways to fight into a TL comp that wants to kite back a lot of the time. Haeri picks up a wave here, and things still looking good for Team Liquid.
However, items are continuing to roll in. Now we have anti-heal picked up for Eyla. We also have Mandate. We have 2 items, and the free boots does allow this Lucian to ignore, an 1100 gold chunk, so going to look pretty on that scoreboard. So even though Team Liquid does look to be in a very impressive situation on the scoreboard,
You've seen it before.
Items, I've seen this before.
And that's the truth there, is that's the only hope from a FlyQuest perspective, is that one of those disjointed fights where Summit in particular isn't on the same page. Speaking of pages...
Pyosik goes in, easy kill. I couldn't even finish the sentence before that Nami was dead.
And back in our day, Raise the Puppy was a very popular strategy, and the way you dealt with it is you killed the Enchanter.
True.
And time again, Eyla is stepping up on this mid wave, and he's starting to get punished.
For those who do not know, the puppy was Uzi back on the days of RNG and their comps that revolved entirely around him. And it turns out if everybody wants to protect the puppy, you gotta go after the puppy's best buddy instead. Let's see if Team Liquid can finish the Baron this time around. They got it down to half HP. CoreJJ and Haeri separating a little bit from the rest of the squad. They've got Pyosik and Summit still inside the pit. It's gonna be confirmed by Pyosik. He will not lose the Smite fight. And now Spica and FlyQuest try to fall back. Sejuani's tanky, but I don't know if she's tanky enough to get away. Not from Haeri, not today. Prince keeps on running. Only 300 HP left. Means Nami's gonna deploy the tidal wave just to keep him alive. Vicla won't be so lucky. Sylas just broke out of jail and they're sending him straight back into the black and white prison. He'll be in the fountain for the next 40 seconds. And Team Liquid's got a 5v3.
And this is desperation stations, because that's 40 seconds on your mid laner and the base is open, and Aphelios completely destroys turrets at this stage of the game. FlyQuest, they gotta go for a desperation fight.
Yeah, the base defense here is going to be a desperate one. We're watching TL. They want to try to fish for something.
5 seconds on Spica. It'll be a 4v5 then. Team Liquid still looking to end the game now. Pyosik jumps in. He doesn't get the angle on Prince, and now he's going to draw the aggro from everybody else. They go all out just to bring him down. That's the enemy jungler out of the picture. It is a 4v4. Team Liquid, recognizing the lack of their ults and the expenditure of their summoner spells, starting to fall back a little bit. FlyQuest got to be careful not to overchase, though. They've got low
Vicla has TP,
and they got no money compared to what Team Liquid has in pocket. Vicla coming around from the side. Can he really even do anything? Look at the health bars on Spica, on Prince, on Impact. They're all so low. It's got to be something crazy here from FlyQuest. Prince wants to follow it up. Yeon still got full. Yeon's got Infernum. The AoE of the Aphelios might just be able to kill everyone. CoreJJ grabbed the kill on Eyla. Yeon's gonna
That'll do.
No matter everybody else on FlyQuest is going nowhere but straight down. Team Liquid with a triple kill on their mid laner will give FlyQuest their 3rd loss this split and absolutely slam them to kick off week 7.
And Haeri Poggers showed up to play today. One mistake, but the rest of the game took over. Team Liquid pick up a must-win game.
Those chants used to roar through this studio. Liquid has been having a rough split so far, but look at the smiles on the faces. Those men have got to be feeling good about this one. They built the lead early. They kept the momentum mid. They outplayed when their opponents took their shot and chose their moment. It was a good look.
The season isn't decided in the first round robin. Obviously, Team Liquid are one to forget, FlyQuest for one to remember. But in this game, especially that early game that needs to be tuned up, TL was better, and ultimately you could see that FlyQuest felt desperate. We wanted to keep fighting because it's not like 30 minutes would read better when the items started to flow in.
And with Team Liquid having this monster performance, who better to interview the victorious team than a man who's wearing their